But guys, think about this, because now you understand what's going on. Now you understand why there's such a backlash, right? This guy said, I saw that the Bible has not been preserved. So I wondered, did God give a book that's been preserved? And then I found the book that there's no doubt about. It's been preserved, the Quran. And so that's apparently how he became a Muslim. He concluded that the Quran has been perfectly preserved right down to the letter. How did he conclude that? Did he go around comparing manuscripts? Did he study the history of the Quran according to even Muslim sources? No. He heard it, which back then would have been from someone like Sheikh Yasir Qadhi. He heard this, he mindlessly believed it without investigating, and then all of his confidence in his religion was based on that, which is a complete lie. And then, at no point did he ever bother to actually seriously investigate this, which was, again, the entire basis for his confidence in Islam. He then went out and used this in his dawah to Christians. You Christians, your book has textual variants. In the Quran, there are no textual variants. Not one, anywhere. Perfect preservation right down to the letter. It's a miracle. Alhamdulillah. Right?
The truth is so hard.
Yeah. And then, so basically someone like Yasir Qadhi comes out, and it's, let's face it, what Yasir Qadhi's interview is, guys, we're living in a difficult time of technology where if I tell you the truth about the Quran right now, I will get blasted by all of you for destroying your faith. But if I go ahead and continue the lie like I used to do in the past, I'm going to get laughed out of academia, because if I say something as insane and stupid as perfect preservation right down to the letter, I will never be able to show my face at another academic conference again, because they will all know that I'm a liar, and I will have the reputation of a horribly, horribly dishonest person. That's what he put out there, right? And so it's just, oh yes, keep your confidence. We're working on a solution, but there's some holes in the narrative. And then he can't take it, right? This would destroy my faith. This would destroy my faith. And what's the solution? We have to marginalize people like Yasir Qadhi, represent him as some sort of heretic or something like that, someone you should never listen to. And that's what you're left with. And notice he's complaining, and now when I do my dawah, I can't even do my dawah anymore. I go to the Christians and I say, Christians, did you know that your book's been changed, but there's only one Quran anywhere? No difference anywhere in any manuscript? And they go, yeah, what about Yasir Qadhi over there? No, I can't take it. Why the Yasir Qadhi? Right, guys, look, I'm just going to,
fantastic.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the issue, I'm going to give you both sides real quick, right? Has the Bible been corrupted? That depends on what you mean by corruption, right? If you mean textual variants, yes, there are tons of textual variants in the manuscript tradition of the Bible. Guess what? It's always this. Anytime you have human beings copying large books by hand, you're going to get textual variants. The vast majority of things that can't even be translated, right? They're like spelling differences and things like that, where the word John, for instance, in Greek can be spelled with one N or two N's. Well, guess what? You'll find a bunch of manuscripts that spell John with one N, and you'll find a bunch of manuscripts that spell John with two N's. Those are textual variants. Those count as differences, right? You have a couple of instances where it's actually a significant passage. That's the longer ending of the Gospel of Mark and the woman caught in adultery. Other than that, they're small things. Some of them do affect translation, but what you never ever have is something that would undermine a Christian doctrine, right? So what you have is exactly what you would expect if you have a book being copied thousands of times by human beings. You end up, the more manuscripts you have, the more textual variants you have, right? So that's the situation. You have that. That's one thing you could point out. And you could also point out that during the time of canonization, when they're establishing what are the books of the New Testament, there were some disagreements about some of the smaller books like 2nd and 3rd John and so on, right? And that's because those weren't circulated in the same way that like the Gospel of Matthew and Gospel of Mark and those circulated widely. Some of those smaller letters were directed towards a certain area, and they kind of remained in that area. And so once you're getting to the point in history where, hey, we're gonna talk about what are the books of the New Testament, some people in other areas are like, wait a minute, we don't use that book. And so you had those kinds of disagreements. So those are the things you can say honestly. You have lots of textual variants, differences in the manuscripts. You had some dispute about some of the smaller books of the New Testament, and at the end of the day, none of the differences would undermine any important Christian doctrine. Right? So that's what you can say and not be either completely ignorant or a liar. Right? That's what you can say. Guess what? If that's what you mean by corruption, because that's not what I mean by corruption, right? If that is what you mean by corruption, you say that's what corruption is, guess what? The Quran's been corrupted. Do you have tons of textual variants in the manuscript history of the Quran? Yep, lots of them. Lots and lots and lots of them. You have tons of textual variants. So if that's what you mean by corruption, then your book's been corrupt. If your definition of corruption is, well, if you have some disputes about what goes into there, guess what? Abdullah ibn Masud said there are 111 chapters in the Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b said there are 116 chapters in the Quran. And the Quran you have today has 114 chapters. Did they have disputes? Yes. Yes. According to Abdullah ibn Masud, Surah 1, Surah 113, Surah 114 aren't supposed to be in the Quran. Those are Muslim prayers. They're not supposed to be. That's Muslims talking to Allah, not Allah talking to Muslims. And then Ubay ibn Ka'b, he said, nope, you got these 114, but you actually have 2 additional chapters that aren't in there. Those are 2 additional prayers. Do you have disagreements about some of the contents? Yes. Now, what would a Muslim say? But even though you have that, it doesn't affect any major Christian doctrine. That's Shabir Ali's response now. Yes, even though you have different versions of the Quran around the world, it's not something that would affect any Muslim doctrine. What are you saying? You're saying exactly what Christians say. So this just comes down to an issue of consistency, right? This comes down to consistency. If you're saying that the Bible's been corrupted because of those issues, then great, the Quran's been corrupted. Alternatively, if you're saying that the Quran has not been corrupted, then you shouldn't say the Bible's been corrupted either. But what Muslims want to do is say the Quran hasn't been corrupted, perfectly preserved right down to the letter, but the Bible's been corrupted because it has the same issues that we find in the Quran. But we've been lying about it for so long, whereas Christians have been honest about it for so long, that we can't get our minds around anything other than the lie. And notice, guys, because I'm talking to you Muslims who are watching, this should bother you. Why is it that you can walk into any Christian bookstore right now? I can pull any Bible off my shelf right now and go to the footnotes, and it'll say, there's a textual variant in this verse. There's a textual variant in this passage. It tells me. We do not hide that. You could go into any Christian bookstore and find entire books on textual criticism. We do not hide that. Our scholars do not hide that. Our scholars do not try to keep people insulated from reality. You go over to Islam and your scholars lie to you your entire lives. They pretend it. You don't go into a Muslim bookstore and find this. You don't find these notes at the bottom of your Quran saying, look at all these, there's a textual variant here, there's a textual variant there. So somehow it's like we want the lie. And you see this from Sajid, right? I want the lie. The lie is what convinced me that Islam is true. The lie is what I use for my dawah. I cannot stand these Christians who now have to tell me the truth about my religion. And they use Yasser Qadhi, who for a brief moment in his entire career told the truth. I can't take that. I can't stand it. Why don't you guys just shut up? I want all of you to be destroyed. You keep telling me the truth and I can't take it. I hate this. It's making me uncomfortable. Dude, Sajid, dude, if your confidence in Islam is based on the amazing preservation of the Quran, I go to your sources and I read about entire chapters coming up missing, you can check it out. Sahih Muslim, 2286. Abu Musa talks about 2 entire chapters of the Quran coming up missing. Aisha said that more than 100 verses came up missing just from Surah 33. Ubay ibn Ka'b said it was even more. He said it was over 200 verses that came up missing. Aisha talks about verses being eaten by a sheep. You can go to the different Qira'at and see differences even in the Qurans you have today. What possible basis could you have for believing the Quran's been perfectly preserved? The only way you could even defend a stupid, idiotic claim like that would be to have the original and to have all the manuscripts and to show all of the manuscripts ever line up perfectly with that original. That's the only way you could maintain perfect preservation. But you can't do that because you know that's not true. I mean, even you would have to know that's not true, right? So what do you mean by perfect preservation? What in the world do you mean? It's not based on any evidence. In fact, it contradicts and flies in the face of every shred of evidence we have. And this is the basis of your religion? This is the basis of your confidence in Islam and the ground of your dawah to others? The basis of your confidence in Islam and of your dawah to other people is something that everyone who really studies this issue knows is a complete, utter, total lie. The foundation of your belief is a lie. What's that tell us? And the fact that you can't acknowledge it and you'll just say, well, I will destroy the career of anyone who disagrees with me and I will expose him and we will marginalize them. What does that tell us about the religion? It makes it sound like you're saying, I just want lies, more lies, never the truth. I can't stand the truth. I want to hide in the dark. Don't open a window. Don't open the curtains. I can't take it. This is your religion, dude? And you're telling all of us, you're telling the rest of the world what they need to do when this is how you live? All right, sorry I went on for so long, AP, but I didn't want to get my thoughts out there.
It was a necessary rant. I feel like you had to let it out there. Yeah.